Good morning, Dan and Amy. And hey, $2 trillion in funny money. Subsidies for all my men and women. Everybody gets a subsidy.
You get a car, and you get a car, and you get a subsidy, and you get a subsidy.
Big changes coming to Obamacare effective April 1st per the $2 trillion in funny money that is now being set up for airdropping by the Biden administration. By the way, just as a quick aside, $2 trillion a one-shot deal. We've run up $8 trillion in the last 12 months. Funny money and debt. I mean, funny money is debt. And the proposed tax increases expected from Creepshow Joe scored at potentially raising $2.1 billion in additional revenue over 10 years. Just to give you an order of magnitude. And these tax increases that will be proposed will be major. And that's $2 trillion over a decade expected in revenue. It'll fall short if it were to become law. $2 trillion in one shot like that. Like it's no big deal. And it's super popular. Of course it is. Right? 100 million people with a shot in their arm and money in their pocket. A shot in every arm and money in every pocket. Happy days are here again. Yeah, until the roaring 20s stopped roaring. For more on the specifics of the changes coming to Obamacare as it pertains to you, our friends and listening audience, pleased to have our resident expert on the topic since the advent of Obamacare, but somebody who's been in the industry for decades. He is C.Steven Tucker. He is the founder and principal broker for healthinsurancementors.com, and nobody knows more about the health insurance market than C.Steven Tucker. CS, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Yes, a shot in the arm, a check for everyone, and nearly free health insurance, and I'm not exaggerating, nearly free, for nearly everyone, way above the former subsidy cliff where you could no longer qualify. I mean,
tripled it, right?
Tripled, if not quadrupled it. If you're in your 60s, for example, this month you cannot get a health insurance subsidy if you make more than about $64,000. Next month, if you're in your 60s, you're a couple in your 60s, you can make $228,000 a year and still get a federal subsidy. That is 1,323% above the federal poverty level. It's capped this month at 400% of the federal poverty level.
Mm-hmm.
So nearly everyone at nearly every income level is not only going to get a federal health insurance subsidy, but if they buy a silver level plan, they're going to pay nearly nothing and have a nearly non-existent deductible. And they're going back retroactively to January 1. So even if you already have a health insurance subsidy, if you log back in on April 1st, presuming everybody can get this done in 2 weeks, because it was just signed on Friday, you're going to see that your premiums are going to go down dramatically from what you assumed they would be when you estimated your income in the fall of 2020 during open enrollment. And that's another thing. No more accountability.
Well,
no more accountability.
Well, I just, why didn't you vote for Biden? I mean, it sounds great.
Because I don't believe you can create money with the stroke of a keyboard and not eventually pay the piper for those consequences. And that is going to come. The question is, how long can we keep this whole quantitative easing and everything else that started under Bernanke going? No one really knows that answer. But these things concern me because I think about the dollars and cents, not just the free money.
Yeah, and eventually a loaf of bread's going to be $35, right?
These are the concerns. I mean, we all remember the Weimar Republic. These things can happen. Obviously, we're a much bigger powerhouse. We're the biggest powerhouse in the world. But how long can this shell game continue? Until it ends, people are going to take advantage of this, believe me, and they all frankly should.
Well, and just taking a step back in Obamacare, just to give you a sense of how many people are already being subsidized, this backdoor takeover of health insurance that has been going since Obamacare was passed more than a decade ago now. How many more people get subsidies under the Biden's $2 trillion than were previously getting it, nationally.
Currently, we have about 14 million people that are getting, Obamacare subsidies now, advanced premium tax credits, and the second subsidy, which is called CSR, cost sharing reduction. So if you're under 50% of the federal poverty level, you have an almost non-existent deductible if you have a silver plan. So there's two big subsidies going on. We're going to add another 2.5 million more people to that. And so the additional costs, according to the CBO and the JCT, who, by the way, are always wrong, always undershoot the actual cost. But we're looking at about increasing federal deficits by about $35 billion over the next 10 years. But again, who cares? It's free.
Right. Some of the other provisions that may be of interest to people, including the clawback elimination for last tax year, for the 2020 tax year. Explain that.
Imagine if we know human nature, right? So imagine if we just knew this in November when open enrollment was going on. Everyone would have put in the lowest possible income, just above 138% of the federal poverty level, so they're not kicked to Medicaid. They would get the largest federal subsidy, and then they would have knew that the new president would wave his magic wand and say, yeah, who cares? There's no accountability. No one's going to come back at you and say you owe the money back. The biggest scare when you're applying for health insurance subsidies is you have to predict your income a year ahead of time, right? The following year, because the subsidy is based upon the year in which you take it, but you're applying in the fall of the year prior. So you're trying to use a crystal ball to figure out what your income is. So everybody has to worry about the prove-up point when the rubber hits the road. And if your initial assessment was wrong and you make substantially more, you would all of it back to our dear friends at the IRS. Now, there's no accountability for 2020. If you were off by thousands of dollars, no one's going to care. There's no payback. It's over.
It's wonderful. I mean, utopia is here. Who says you can't immunize the eschaton? Cobra premiums for the unemployed after the tax increases are passed, if they're passed, I should say. I shouldn't assume. I don't assume.
Yeah.
If they're passed, there's going to be a lot more people unemployed, so Cobra is going to be an issue.
Well, not for 6 months. It's going to be completely paid for by the taxpayer from April 1st until October 1st. And so all you have to do is tell your employer, I want Cobra, and your employer gets to foot the bill for your Cobra, and he will hopefully be reimbursed by the federal government, a.k.a. taxpayer again, for those 6 months. So Cobra, anyone eligible for Cobra as of April 1st would be a fool not to take it because it's going to be, quote-unquote, free, courtesy of more funny money.
I'd have to take a bit of a pay cut, but this government living is pretty attractive, actually. It's sort of easy peasy, world without consequences.
Wake up when
it.
you want. You don't have to get ready.
Yeah.
So, Steven, Tucker, what about subsidies for those eligible for unemployment?
That's another big deal. I mean, this actually is going to help a lot of people. When people go on unemployment, especially during these ridiculous, government-imposed Rona lockdowns, they get unemployment, and because they're on unemployment, their income is oftentimes now less than 138% of the federal poverty level. When you're under 138% of the federal poverty level, you're eligible for Medicaid. And the law prohibits anyone eligible for any form of Medicaid from obtaining a health insurance subsidy. So now, if all you have to do, there'll be a new portal uploaded, presumably by April 1st, where you upload evidence of your unemployment documents, and then you will be guaranteed a health insurance subsidy, not just the maximum subsidy to reduce your premium down to nearly zero, but also the lowest and smallest deductibles and copays and maximum out-of-pocket expenses if you buy a silver level plan. So that will help a lot of people get actual health insurance instead of Medicaid, which is oftentimes difficult to find, especially specialists who will take it, especially in Illinois.
Now, the qualified plans, the qualified Obamacare plans that are offered in Illinois, those all must include coverage for bullet wounds, right? Am I right about that?
Yes, it's covered expense.
So let's talk about pricing on this, too. If people want to figure out what the April 1 changes mean to them. You make the point the Kaiser Foundation has a calculator, but the state exchanges don't have the information yet. Yeah,
neither does healthcare.gov, neither do the insurance companies. I mean, this was just signed, just a few days ago by Biden, so it's going to take time to do this. But they are saying, healthcare.gov, CMS, HHS are all saying by April 1st, you will be able to log in to your existing account if you already have a subsidy and get a wonderful retroactive reimbursement lowering your premiums back to January 1st, but also you'll be able to see these new prices, which are going to be, and I stress, dramatically lower and available for millions of people who could never qualify before.
He is C.S. Tucker, founder and principal broker for healthinsurancementors.com. Also, you can catch his musings on the topic, a lot of detail here. C.StevenTucker.wordpress.com, his blog, CStevenTucker.wordpress.com. C.S. Tucker, healthinsurancementors.com. Thanks as always.
Thank you, guys.
And we want to mention that C.Steven Tucker is the title sponsor of our sold-out Biden the First 100 Days event this Saturday in Lake Geneva. So we will see you Saturday. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.